Hi, John. It's fantastic to hear you. Thank you very much for agreeing to do the this interview on GETV. Perhaps we could start by just if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then we can go from there.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me. I'm calling in from the mountaintop of Pennsylvania, and it's a pleasure to be here and to speak with you. I'm John Lay. I'm the founder and CEO and lead analyst of Talented Learning, and we're a news research and consulting organization that specializes in learning technology, research and learning technology for extended enterprise. And extended enterprise training is the training that is for your non-employees, for people like your sales channel or your partners or your customers or your members. And it's a whole different ballgame of focusing on voluntary users to get them to use learning management systems versus your internal employees, which are more mandated to use it. So our organization helps organizations understand the requirements and build the business case for extended enterprise opportunities. And then we help find the right vendors, so define the requirements and then match up with vendors that specialize in what each organization is going to do. So that's pretty much the mandate of Talented Learning.
Fantastic. So, could we start with a couple of questions? What are your thoughts on the learning management system market in the US? Can you tell us, give us a flavour of how quickly it's growing, size, etc.?
Sure. So my background, I have a master's degree in instructional technology that's 18 years old. So I've been squarely in the middle of the e-learning space in America since then. For the last 15 years, I've been involved on a daily basis in the LMS market. So it's something I follow quite closely. I sold learning management systems for 13 years for top tier learning management providers, and I ran global sales and marketing for one of those providers for a few years. So my experience in the marketplace is looking at it across that horizon of 15 years. What I believe is that the United States market is very strong in learning management, and the learning management market is very strong. And it really comes from twofold or two pieces. There's the existing replacement business. So if you haven't been following all from the UK, the frenzy, what's happened here in America is just in the last 3 years, we've had SAP purchase SuccessFactors, who purchased Plateau, a great learning management system, and Oracle purchased Taleo, who purchased Learn.com, which was a great learning management system. Infor purchased CertPoint, which was a great learning management system. SumTotal was purchased by Vista, who purchased Geo Learning, and the list goes on and on in the last few years of all these organizations that were purchased. So if you were an organization that had a Geo Learning or had a Learn.com system, all of a sudden now you're being managed and run by some huge organization, SAP or Oracle. And so as a result, there's lots and lots of turnover of LMSs in the market. So many organizations make their living off that replacement business, and that replacement business is just screaming right now as organizations run for the doors from the bigger organizations. The other, though, growth in the marketplace is the net new business, and that's the exciting part. And that's the part that I'm really involved in with Extended Enterprise. Extended enterprise training allows you to very easily measure your return on investment and the impact on the business. Is it more sales? Is it less customer support calls? Is it higher customer satisfaction? All that can be tied directly to training. And the new LMS providers, the next gen providers, as you're wearing the crown yourself here globally, the next gen providers have made it easy to get in, to train those people, to not make it a huge laborious investment, to make it fun, to make it global and mobile. And that's the net new business. And that's allowing all kinds of organizations in the small and the mid-tier to now get into learning management without having to sell their firstborn into slavery to afford it.
So, John, what do you see as the major changes that are currently happening within the LMS marketplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of changes going on. I just described how the big HR players have went through this whole acquisition and merger to create full town suites. And so a big pressure in the marketplace is anywhere that SAP or Oracle or Infor or IBM is the ERP or the HR system, they're trying to force the learning management system just as part of that suite and to make that happen at the C level of an organization. And it's a great strategy. However, some organizations or some learning and development professionals won't let that happen, and so they try to force the best in breed approach by allowing other LMS vendors to come and specifically compete for that piece of business with the intention of then just using connectors or APIs to pass the appropriate data to whatever that talent suite is. And that push and pull dynamic is happening in every single opportunity that I run into as I'm helping organizations, because they don't want the big system. However, they're compelled to take it. So they're always in this agony of trying to build a business case of why they shouldn't have to go with the norm, but why they could actually impact the business better with a different system. So that's the main dynamic that I see going on. And because of the specialization of providers like yourself, the cloud-based providers, you were born in the cloud, you're mobile, you're social. Lots of vendors now that have been born in the last 3 or 4 years have a similar footprint of that. And that's also changing the whole marketplace, because it's making it so that organizations don't have to spend $250,000 or $500,000 or $1 million like they used to, but they can spend $25,000 and be up and running in a couple weeks. And that's also really changed how people look at learning management and how people invest in learning management.
Interesting. Thank you. And what are your thoughts in terms of the common mistakes that companies typically make when they're selecting an LMS?
Yeah, that's something I'm quite familiar with. So personally, I've won about 100 LMS opportunities in my 13 years of selling. I managed teams that won about another 50 opportunities. I probably lost about 500 opportunities in that particular time. So I've seen organizations, big and small, experienced, non-experienced, every flavor, approaching LMSs differently, but the mistakes are common. The mistakes, it's almost Groundhog Day-ish, if I understand that analogy here from Pennsylvania, United States. It is the same mistakes over and over again. And what is that? It is, one, not starting with a business case. Hey, I need an LMS, but not, hey, what's this LMS going to do? We need to increase sales. We need to increase our customer satisfaction. We need to take call centers offline and invest that money into innovation. And, oh, by the way, we can do that through training. And now we have a system. And you start working backwards or forwards, as it were, from the business case into the learning management system. But so many organizations don't do that. They just go in for the product. And the minute that they go in for the product, they're a step behind. And as a sales organization, and now as a consultant, you can sense that right from the get-go that they're not approaching it strategically. And the minute they're not approaching it strategically, then everything goes south at that point. You start worrying about bells and whistles, about sizzle, and not about what you're really trying to accomplish and how you're trying to impact the business. So I think that's the number one mistake. The number two mistake is organizations then get so excited. Growth engineering comes in. Wow, we got gamification. We've got bespoke videos. This stuff is great. We're not going to take the time to define our requirements. They have everything that we need. This is the exact solution that we want. And so I see organizations get enamored by the solution and the technology, and then refuse to take that step back to articulate what are the use case scenarios. Every type of user that's going to interact with this system, how do we want them to use it? How do we want them to purchase? How do we want them to search and find content? How do we want them to enter that? And to flesh that out with all the requirements that are associated, but not just functional requirements. And this is the third mistake that everybody makes, is if they do the requirements, they do the functional, but then they skip the next level. And there's the functional requirements are only about that big, I think, in a piece of this big. But there's the implementation requirements. What do we do with our existing LMS, our existing users, data, content? What's our content strategy as we move forward? And how do we move out of one LMS into another LMS? What do we need from a support standpoint after we go live or to go live? What kind of integrations are we going to need to be able to get the information to flow properly so we can actually measure those business results? But all those different pieces get glossed over by organizations all the time. They say, do you have social? Do you have mobile? Do you have awards? Do you have gamification? And they're not thinking that next level of, yeah, great, you have all that, but now how do you make all that work? And they skip that in the requirements. And that's a fatal flaw too, because then you end up buying a great system, but that's only 10% of the problem, in our opinion.
Yeah, interesting. So tell me a little bit about the specific needs or the specific requirements and opportunities for the extended enterprise. We've talked a little bit about, what, companies may require for internal development, but, being as your specialization is extended enterprise and finding the right LMS for extended enterprise, I'm really interested to hear a little bit more about, the market and how that's progressing, but also the opportunity for these extended and what you think, they can what can be delivered for them by deploying a learning management system.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. One I answer all the time as I talk around the world. It all comes down to voluntary versus involuntary users. The LMS marketplace, very mature in the United States, has been focusing on involuntary users. You're an employee and you have to take this training. Thanks for sharing. I don't care if it's boring. I don't care if it's terrible. You're still going to take it and I can report on it, and that's the way it is. And organizations a few years ago started saying, well, geez, we should try to train our customers, our channels, our partners, just like we train our internal employees. And everybody thought, well, that's a great idea. So they take their LMS and they open it up for the external users, and external users look at it and say, no way, I'm not taking it. It's boring. I can't figure out how to get around. I might only come into the system once a year, and I don't have time, the patience to go figuring out what you want me to do. And so the internal LMSs fell down when they tried to address the external audiences, the voluntary audiences that have to want to come to your system. They have to want to be engaged. They have to want to take your training and want to come back and want to tell their friends. And that want is so much different than have to do something. So all those features to make people want are the features of extended enterprise. So does the LMS still track courses? Yes. Can you still register? Yes. Can you still download documents? Yes. All the same things that you want. Can you report? Yes. All the same things that you want an internal LMS to do. But now you have to make it marketing. Now you have to make it engaging. Now you have to make it growth engineering. It's got to be fun. It's got to be the piece that attracts users into the system. So the mandatory requirements are, it has to be social. Social can't be bolted on. It has to be integrated into the workflow. What's social? As you know, it's the sharing of information with your peers to encourage and motivate them to complete the training. There has to be mobile. It has to be mobile first. It has to be born mobile. Everything has to be responsive, because anybody that's taking training voluntarily is sneaking it in at their kid's football game or in between breaks or on the train or on the plane, and they're not having the opportunity to sit at their desk. So it has to be mobile first, desktop, who cares? It has to be, you have to have the whole gamification, as you know, from that standpoint, is another key feature. It has to be from a continuing education standpoint is the other big aspect of extended enterprise training, of providing like doctors or medical professionals or any professionals training every year or every 2 years that they have to maintain their certifications and continue to do this training. So good extended enterprise systems have to have a certification system and then a recertification. So once I become an accountant, then what do I have to do to maintain my degree or my certification in accountancy? And so LMS is also, there's a lot of functionality down that vein. And the other one is globalization. So one of the big opportunities of extended enterprise training is that you can build your brand in markets that you wouldn't be able to access normally. I can't personally from Pennsylvania access the UK market without global technology. I would never be talking to you without it. And so every organization is like that. Every software organization, every manufacturing organization has to train its people that use the products, that sell the products, that service the products, and that may be happening in any corner of the world. So good extended enterprise LMSs have to be global. And when we say global, it means localized into the language, but also from an administrative standpoint, that you have to have one piece of content that is translated into 10, 15.
Fantastic. John, that was really interesting. It's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. We really, really appreciate it. Maybe you can tell the folks how they might get in contact with you if they were looking for an extended enterprise system. I think that would be useful for them to know.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me here today. This was a pleasure. Our website is talentedlearning.com. Our website's a blog versus a regular website, so we're constantly releasing our research on vendors that we're researching, but also on topics like we talked about today, anything extended enterprise. What I would recommend is, even if you're not in the market, but you're in learning and technology in general, to follow our blog. It's interesting, and we're biased about that, but it is interesting and fun. And it is a good way to learn more about this evolving technology. And at any time, you can reach out to us from there, or any of the social means. We'd love to talk to you if you are in the process of looking at learning management systems. And what we can help you do is take that step back, define the business case, and really define those requirements in the manner that I described. And that'll put you on the right step. It'll save a lot of time. It'll save a lot of effort, and it'll allow you to choose an organization that really matches your business needs.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, John. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Thank you.